Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Film Family. Thank you for tuning in. And today we're going to be talking about Brian Kirk's new film, 21 Bridges, with Chadwick Boseman. And that's the extent of my knowledge of names. So, what did you guys think?
Yeah, so I think this is a pretty fine movie. There's a couple of things I want to talk about that I wasn't too much of a fan of. And overall, I think there was some stuff in this movie that you can enjoy. And I think if you're not looking too much into it on a film level, I think you'll have a pretty good time with the movie.
I feel like you maybe just really like Chadwick Boseman, and that's why you gave it that.
I actually do like Chadwick Boseman.
Because I do not feel the same. I mean, it had a lot of great stuff in it. Some plot twists that maybe you didn't see coming. Yeah. Obviously,
let's not spoil it.
Okay, we won't spoil it, but a lot of people feel the same way about this, and but there was just basically there were some plot twists that you didn't really see coming, and that was really cool. They had some great gunfights, I think, and stuff like that, but. Well, not great gunfights. If you're thinking about like John Wick, but like the action was okay, and I just felt like that had a lot of great elements, but it didn't tie in well. Like it didn't have the glue to hold it together.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I didn't mind the movie at all. I definitely think it's not a movie that I needed to see in the theater. It's like as I was watching it, I was like, "Oh, I could watch this at home."
I think this is a movie you would love at home. Like,
that's
how I
right?
thought. I was like, I would love this movie.
Yeah, at home, it's like it
was on TV. And
you're
flipping
through it. But in the theater, I mean, it was entertaining. I'll say that, but it wasn't anything that was like, "Wow, I got to go home and tell my friends" or something like that.
Yeah. Well, okay. So what you're saying about Chadwick Boseman, I really do like him. I've only seen him in like 3 movies before this, or 3 different roles. But I think something I like about him is he seems like an authentic actor. He seems like he really puts time and effort into each role he does, which is something I appreciate. I know, like, if you watch his interviews and stuff, he's talked about how he kind of takes each role and puts at least more effort than a lot of people will put into some of their most serious roles, which is something I appreciate. He seemed pretty knowledgeable with how he handled the gun and how he was handling himself, because I think he did some cop training for this movie. And, I just liked him in the movie. I thought his accent was weird, because I didn't know if he was trying to put on a little bit of a New York accent, because he has a pretty, it's a pretty recognizable accent. I think he's from, South Carolina. So when he does this, New York thing, it's like, oh, man, just don't do that, Because whenever a movie, unless you really need to justify your accent, you can always just be like, oh, well, I moved here. It's not hard,
Yeah.
So I don't know why every movie feels like they need to give somebody who might struggle with an accent. So I think it's weird, but I thought he did a solid job in the movie. I liked him.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing for me, is I didn't really like that accent, and I didn't know if it almost reminded me of his Black Panther accent, and I was like, whoa, man.
He's done an accent with every role though.
But I really liked him. I really liked him in the James Brown, the Get On Up, and 42.
Yeah,
and then he did Black Panther. I thought he was good in that. Didn't like Black Panther the character, but I thought he did a good job in that.
He's a solid actor.
He was okay in this. It was just I wish he didn't do the accent. I really wish he didn't.
I'll agree with that. What do you guys think about the ensemble, the cast?
Well, so I mean, I thought when you saw Taylor Kitsch and Stephen James working together, you could definitely see Taylor Kitsch was more seasoned as an actor, and which he is. He did a pretty good job at just saying his lines, but also he kind of handled himself, I think, a little more maturely, if that's a word, because I just could kind of see an experience in him that Stephen James seemed a little less, kind of having, and he's kind of more of a plot point, while Stephen James is more of a character, because Taylor Kitsch is in this movie, does some stuff, and then Stephen James is in this movie and kind of is more important to the plot and has a lot more of a connection than just bad guy who shoots guns with Chadwick Boseman's character. Yeah, and I think too, J.K. Simmons in this movie, he did a pretty good job. He was convincing as his police chief. There might be more there.
I think he cussed a little too much and that's coming from me. You know what I mean? I didn't really
I think this movie's trying a little bit too hard to justify its R rating.
Yeah,
the movie could have succeeded just as well being PG-13. There was some blood sprouts, that are shown on the screen. There's some F words, but all that could have just been taken out and put with just a better script or just less blood. And I don't think my experience with the film would have been any different.
Yeah, well, that could have been also because, there's counter programming. Frozen 2's out. They could be thinking, I know it's the way ahead of time.
Know? Yeah.
No, but still, it's they could have cut it down. They could.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it just felt out of place the way he would say some stuff.
Exactly.
Well, I think they're trying to go for New York raw. That's raw.
New York. Yeah, New York raw. Yeah. But it wasn't New York unless they had some New York cops on there consulting, and maybe they did. I don't know. But here's the thing. like when you're making this movie and you're thinking about it from a financial standpoint, it's like, well, you're gonna make more money if you're PG-13.
Yeah,
there's not that many more people are gonna see it because it's R, compared to how many less people are gonna see it because it's PG-13 or because it's R. So I think like a PG-13 movie rating would have done this movie kind of better.
Would it have scared the adults though? That's the thing. Like PG-13, like unless
the Bourne movies are PG-13, right?
What?
The Bourne movies are PG-13. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
They might, except for the new one. Is the new one?
No, I'm talking about the original.
Oh
yeah. Like so some movies are PG-13 and they're still like just as good.
Yeah, that's true. I think times are changing though. I mean, everyone's kind of going for that R now, like Joker.
I mean, as far as a cop movie goes, though, like there are better cop movies. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I felt like Fast and Furious is supposed to be a car movie, but they had better action.
Come on,
than,
don't
like,
say Fast and Furious is a better
movie.
cop movie.
No, not a better cop movie. no, but I'm talking about like from the action. I just felt like leaving Fast and Furious like I wanted to.
That's
you know
fair.
what I mean?
Okay.
But in this one, it was like.
Well, you're definitely a fan of those movies. Those movies have a higher budget because I think from an action standpoint, like they're good when compared to a movie like 21 Bridges, but when compared to like the high class, action movies, Fast and Furious aren't, in my opinion, aren't on that level, the top level. But when you're like comparing it to a movie like 21 Bridges, which isn't like a super high budgeted movie, it's like, well, they're gonna look better. But I thought the foot chase in this movie at the end, I really enjoyed. I don't know if I would say any other action sequence in this movie was like great, but because I'm a big fan of foot chases. I like them even more than car chases, which is like a controversial opinion. But I think the way it was shot, I think just the composition of it, the actual choreography was by far better than anything else in the movie. The one thing that tripped me up a little bit, and this is like a little bit of a spoiler, was that what's the name of the movie? Michael? He was like outrunning cars.
Yeah, he was.
And if you're doing it for like a short spurt and the car's like, has to navigate and you're smaller, so it's like, the radius and whatnot, it's like, I get it. But there was like streets and the car's like, just go faster. This dude, he's a human. Yeah. But, the cops seemed pretty ineffective too at chasing this guy because there was a helicopter with like a machine gun that couldn't hit him. It was like, you guys suck at your job. Only Chadwick Boseman's doing
I'm not very familiar, but was the trailer, did they sell it as an action movie in the trailer?
They did, but they sold it differently in the trailer because they said like elite killers. Like I thought they were going to be assassins or mercenaries or something like that, and that's why they closed it down. But I actually just remembered one thing I did have a problem with, and it was with Chadwick Boseman when they were coming in. And I'm going to lead this into something else, but when he was like, "You better have perfect diction calling me a trigger," because he was supposed to be trigger happy. Like, you could see what they were trying to do there, but I just felt like the joke didn't land that good.
That you're writing on a script and saying that's a good joke, but I'm not going to put that on the script because it's not good enough.
Yeah, that was
Hollywood film.
That didn't land. I remember.
I saw that joke in the trailer, and I really said to myself, like, please don't be in this movie because that is not even good enough for a trailer, in my opinion. But there are going to be people who are like, "Oh, I see what you did there," but unfortunately. It wasn't the movie, and I was not entertained by that joke.
It was bad. But what I did like about this, talking about him being like a hot shot, like his career in the movie has him killing at least like 9 people, 4 or 5 since he's been become an investigator. But throughout this entire movie, he's the only guy trying not to kill them. You know what I mean? I thought that was a really cool, and it's very paradoxical in that sense that like he's the most decorated guy for killing people, and this whole time. He's trying to not.
I mean, even in the club,
exactly.
He gets mad at those guys
they just completely murked him for no reason whatsoever.
What do you guys think about his partner, Frankie Burns?
She was pretty good. I mean, she was. That's all I have to say. I mean,
it's hard to talk about her without giving a spoiler.
No, not really.
But besides the spoiler, we all know we're talking about. She really doesn't do anything in this film.
She's more just like observatory.
Yeah, I mean, and like, there's definitely some kind of stuff at hand that leads to other stuff that we can't say. But in terms of like her as a character, she's pretty like, hey, got my daughter at home, got cop stuff to do, and I'm your partner, and we have little back and forths.
And I don't know if I'm slow or something, but when they showed the phone, when he was like, I need to make a phone call or something, and they show the phone and they doom, I didn't get it. I really don't know. Like, it showed one name that I didn't recognize, and then the IMTS or something like that.
I'll explain.
I
didn't really. I just was.
I mean, I think I've read out of things to say. It's a solid movie. It's weird. I personally don't like it when movies market themselves by their producers who have directed other movies, because the Russo brothers. I think it's like just sort of cheap. I respect it that you're getting the getting the money, but I think it's a little weird because you
That's
can
like
never know
5
how
seconds in the trailer. What are you talking about? Produced by.
I know. But you can never know how little or how much like actual involvement a producer has.
Yeah.
'Cause some producers have like done a lot with the movie, and some producers have like put their name on there to get a producing credit.
Yep.
So you never know, and I'm not saying it's either of those two extremes. It could have been somewhere in the middle, but I just think it's kind of something where it's like, well, don't market that as much. Maybe show like this element of the movie. There's actor or whatever. So
yeah, I thought they directed it after the movie, and then I looked it up
You're like,
because
"There's no way
that
they
was the
directed
whole marketing. It was like Druso Brothers.
I had no idea.
But then I looked it up, and I was like, oh, okay, they just produced it. So.
yeah. I thought it was an overall solid movie. I actually liked the last 20 minutes of this movie quite a bit, but everything before that was like kind of meh. So I'm gonna give this movie a 7.3.
Ooh, that's higher than I thought.
I'm gonna give it a 7 because it's an action movie, but it's not one that I would probably watch
Movie I
again.
probably won't be in my head in 5 years.
Yeah,
definitely
it almost left my head this weekend. So,
It left my head the next day.
yeah,
I'll give it 6.5 seems mean, so I'm gonna give it a 7 as well, just because I would enjoy this at home. Like if it was nothing else on and it was like just on and I was like clicking the TV and I'm like, oh, Chadwick. Okay, let me watch it. I'd be like, I wouldn't be mad at myself.
He was good in this movie. I liked him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't be mad at myself.
They were again though trying too many curse words.
Yeah, but I definitely wouldn't run out and go see it.
Yeah. So yeah, if you saw this movie, let us know what you thought and what is your favorite Chadwick Boseman performance. And like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.